Welcome to the first lesson of the free Google Sheets Essential Training. In the coming 20 minutes or so, we will first go through a short introduction to the Google Sheets environment. We will then do some basic operations, adding worksheets, data entry, change, deletion, and finally, cell manipulation, select, copy, move, delete, fill, handle. But first of all, what is Google Sheets? Google Sheets, Google Docs, and Google Slides are a part of what Google calls Google Workspace. It's similar to Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Word, and Microsoft PowerPoint being part of Microsoft 365, the new flavor of the old Microsoft Office. Here are some of the main features of Google Sheets. Editing. One of the key elements of Google Sheets is that it allows collaborative editing of spreadsheets in real time. Rather than emailing one document to multiple people, multiple users can simultaneously open and edit a single document. Users can see every change made by other collaborators, and all changes are automatically saved to Google servers. Google Sheets also includes a sidebar chat feature that allows collaborators to discuss edits in real time and make recommendations on specific changes. Any changes that the collaborators make are tracked using the revision history feature. An editor can review past modifications and revert any unwanted changes. Explore. The Explore feature in Google Sheets was first introduced in September 2016, and it uses machine learning to bring additional functionalities. This feature provides much information based on the spreadsheet's data. It can auto-update itself depending on the selected data. With the Explore feature, users can ask questions, build charts, visualize data, create pivot tables, and format the spreadsheet with different colors. For example, suppose you are preparing a monthly budget, and you've added all the expenses to the spreadsheet. In that case, you can use the Explore feature to get the cost of specific expenses such as food, travel, clothing, etc. There is a box where you can type the question on the sidebar and return the answer. When you scroll down further in the Explore panel, there is a list of suggested graphs that are representative of the data entered in the spreadsheet. You can choose between a pivot table, pie chart, or bar chart. Offline editing. Google Sheets supports offline editing, and users can edit the spreadsheet offline either on desktop or mobile apps. On the desktop, users need to use the Chrome browser and install the Google Docs offline Chrome extension to enable offline editing for Google Sheets and other Google applications. When using mobile, users need to use the Google Sheets mobile app for Android and iOS, which support offline editing. Compatibility with other programs. Google Sheets supports multiple spreadsheet file formats and file types. Users can open, edit, save, or export spreadsheets and document files into Google Sheets. Integration with other Google products. Google Sheets can be integrated with other Google products such as Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Forms, Google Finance, Google Translate. For example, suppose you want to create a poll or questionnaire. In that case, you can input the questions in Google Forms and then import the Google Forms results into Google Sheets. Now, let's create a new Google Sheets file. For this, open a Google Chrome browser. In the address bar type, sheets.new. This will automatically generate a Google Sheets document in your Google Drive. Note that your document is not having a name yet. Let's baptize our first Google Sheets file of this tutorial and call it Lesson 1. And now, let's analyze what we see here before starting to fill in the file with data. In the upper side of the file, you will have the file name, a star that you can toggle on and off, a folder icon, and the confirmation that your file is well saved in the cloud. Just below this, you will have the main menu bar grouping over 100 submenus from file manipulation, view options to tools, add-ons, and help. In case you do not see this line and you need to access it, you can click on the down arrow here or use the keyboard shortcut, Ctrl+Shift+F. Let's make our menu bar disappear and Reaper using the arrow. Tip 1. Why would you like to hide this menu bar? Well, it can free space on your screen so you can see more rows and at the same time, you have a smart search area where you are getting fast access to the action you need. Tip 2. Note another shortcut that you can take advantage of Alt+/. This will bring the smart menu search feature not only in Google Sheets but in Google Docs and Slides as well. Below the menu bar, we have the main buttons used mainly for formatting the data or the cells. Just above the table, we have one more line reading the cell name and the value or function of that cell. For example, we are now on the top left corner of the table, on column A, and the first row. This means that we are in cell A1. Let's enter a value inside and see where this number will appear. And yes, it does appears on the line above our table, reading in our case the cell value. And let's move to the next cell to the right, the cell B1, column B, row 1, and now let's enter the value on top and see what's happening. Of course, the cell got populated with the value we just entered. Back to our environment, and what we can see in here, the main part of the page is the table itself. This is defined by the column names and row numbers and goes almost to be bottom of the file. The last line visible on our page shows us the sheet's presence on this file, with two buttons on the left, to create new sheets, the plus button, and easily navigate between the sheets, the hamburger button. You might debate the added value of the hamburger button next to the plus sign, but imagine that we have many sheets in this file. Once you reach a certain number, these sheets are hiding and you need to scroll left and right to find them. In that case, the hamburger button starts to become useful as you can easily find the needed sheet activated. And once you move to another sheet, you will see that the sheet name will be highlighted at the bottom of the file. You can ask yourself, why do you need more sheets? Every file contains at least one worksheet by default. When working with a large amount of data, you can create multiple sheets to help organize your file and make it easier to find content. And creating a new sheet is as easy as pressing this plus button. And now let's move to the right side of the screen and discuss two important areas making Google Sheets a very powerful tool. Collaboration area. On the upper side of the table, just near your account picture, you will see three buttons. The first one will be visible if you have a paid Google Workspace account and is showing you details of the activity on the file. If you have the basic, free Google account, you will see the Comments and Notifications button, and to the right, the Share button. We will go more in detail when touching about using Google Sheets in a collaborative way. Moving now to the last part of our Google Sheets environment overview, on the bottom right corner you have the Explore feature. This feature provides a lot of information based on the data added to the spreadsheet, and it can auto-update itself depending on the selected data. More details on this on the future modules of this training. Enough about the Google Sheets environment. Let's move to some practical exercises. Let's say that we would like to create a new table where we are gathering some sales information. If you do not have yet any specific data to work with, you can always search on the internet to dummy datasets to have a broad variety of numbers. In our case, we are entering a list of products and then we add the sales per country of each product. Let's enter a few numbers together and then we'll magically populate the entire file in a second to save time. Starting with the table header, I will enter the product description in cell A1, and then I will list the first two products, 36 pencils tube posy and 12 pencils small tube skull. Then in the second column, I will first write the country name Australia and then enter the sales values of 50 and 65. Let's add one more country, Austria, in cell C1 and below add sales 48 and 24. Now moving fast forward, or, in reality, using the copy-paste function, I am populating the rest of the file. At the first look, my file looks very ugly. All the columns are having the same width, but there are descriptions I can't read completely. On other cells there is a lot of wasted space. Generally, before moving forward I would like to get the information more visible. For this, I will ask Google Sheets to automatically change the cell's widths. To make all the text visible and lose the unnecessary white space mainly on the country sales columns. I am selecting the entire sheet by clicking on the table corner, on top of row 1 and left of column A. With the entire sheet selected, I am moving my mouse on the edge of any column. Let's say between column A and B. Once the mouse pointer transforms into a double arrow, I double-click the left mouse button. It is slightly better now. I see a big variation of cell widths for the county data, but for now I am happy with the way I can see the data. Now that we know how to enter data, let's make some changes. For this, it suffices to select the cell you want to update and type the new data. If you only want to change a part of that data, you can either double-click on the cell and change the data there. For instance, deleting the star sign at the end of the product description in cell A5 followed by pressing the Enter key. Or, select the cell you want to alter and on top of the table, add or subtract the information you need. Let's clean the cell A9 in this case by selecting the cell and now, on the cell content line select the two characters and delete them. And now, the easiest part, to delete data on your table just press Del or backspace and the data is gone. Tip: if you delete data by accident, you can always undo that operation by clicking the back arrow or keyboard shortcut Ctrl+Z. Let's move now to the last part of this first lesson. Cell manipulation. I am not talking about psychological manipulation of the cell but about how to select, copy, move, clear, and delete cells with a bonus on how to autofill cells. Selecting a cell is as easy as clicking on the cell. Once you have done this, you can copy the cell data by clicking Ctrl+C, then paste the data in another cell you want using the shortcut Ctrl+V. This will keep the data on the source cell and add the data in the target cell. If you want to move the data from one cell to another, you have two options. You cut the data in the source cell with Ctrl+X and then paste the data in the target cell with Ctrl+V. Or, you select the cell you want to move and then hover your mouse to one of the cell's edge. The mouse pointer will transform into a hand. Click and hold the left button of the mouse. Select the new place where you want to move the data and let the mouse button free. This will move our cell data to the target cell you pointed. As described before, if you want to delete a cell, just select it and hit delete or backspace. So now that we know how to select, copy, move, and delete a cell, let's see how to select multiple cells at once. The first exercise will be to select the first 5 products and then copy them at the end of the table. I am selecting the first product of the list, and while holding the left mouse button, I am selecting the rest of the cells. Once I am happy with the selection, I will release the mouse button and I have now the selection ready. I can now hit Ctrl+C, move my mouse above the cell A30 and click Ctrl+V to copy the values there. If my intention would be to move the selection, instead of Ctrl+C I would use Ctrl+X. Another way of selecting the first 5 products would be to click on the cell A2, hold the Shift key and then click on the cell A6. If, on the other hand, I would like to select only the first and the last product of the table, I will click on the cell A2, hold the Control key down and click on the cell A26. Note that in this case, when you copy the items in another location, the two values will be copied one after the other. Let's see it now by clicking now Ctrl+C, move the mouse below the table, and when clicking Ctrl+V, you see how the two values are copied one after the other, without keeping the space between the rows you had initially. To close our cell manipulation exercise, let's clean the table a little bit. I will select all the rows below the table by clicking on row number 27. Holding down the left mouse button while I am moving the mouse to the end of the page. After my selection is made, I am clicking delete or backspace to clear the data. In preparation for our next lesson, let's keep the sales data of the first 6 countries and delete the rest of them. I am selecting the cell H by clicking on the letter H on top of the table. While holding my left mouse button pressed, I move to the right of the file and hit delete. To instantly move to the first cell of the table, I am pressing the home button. Voila! I told you during the lesson that I will show you how to autofill cells. We will enter a new column at the left of the table, just before the product description. Here we will add a number for each table line. Let's select column A, right-click on the mouse and then select Insert One Left. The entire table moved to the right, and now we can enter the column name. Line number. Enter the first 2 numbers of our list, 1 and 2. And now, let's select these 2 cells. Once we move our mouse on the lower right corner of the selection, on top of the small blue dot, you will see that our pointer is changing into a cross. Click and hold down your left mouse button and now drag your selection until the last line of our table. Once you let go of your mouse button, you will see that all these cells are populated with numbers from 1 to 25. Depending on the incremental interval you select for the first 2 data points, the autofill option will generate the data for the rest of the selection. This is useful when you need to add data following a pattern, and it applies not only to numbers but also for days, months, and even more complex configurations. This ends our first lesson on how to navigate around Google Sheets. Follow the link in the written training material to access the exercise files. Once you are done with the exercises, move to the second lesson of the Google Sheets Essential Training course.